The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Okay, for this last one I'm going to put up this week, we go back to my Rage Against the Machine Testify video with special guest filmmaker Gretl Claggett. If you might remember back then, was when my computer died and I had to get a new one and I lost our original recording. So what you get is our second recording. The first recording we did was, I believe, just before the new year or just after the new year. And our second one, an insurrection happened in between. So we had a long conversation regarding this music video before that, and then had a lot more to talk about right after when we did the second time. And I consolidated this one miraculously down to 16 or so minutes, but we talked for well over 40 minutes on this one. And I don't know if we get in tangents or anything like that, but it should be entertaining. Gretel's a fantastic filmmaker, she's a pretty political filmmaker too, and she's got a wonderful ideology mind and stuff like that to hear talk about all things politics and film. And I had a blast with her. This was probably the longest session of a music video episode ever. I used it with my guests to tell them the gauge, how long these have gone and how short they've gone, and this is the one I used to gauge how long. But yeah, it's a fun one. Gretl, oh my gosh, both times we recorded were like 3-hour sessions, just shooting the shit back and forth with each other. She's an awesome person to just share the passion of art with, and just a good human altogether. So hope to cross paths with her again here in the near future. But for now, here is the last one for this week. Rage Against the Machine Testify with Gretl Claggett.
All right. And thank you for streaming in once again this week as we close out with a song. Joining me today from Monday's episode, award-winning director Gretl Claggett.
Hey, Brandon.
Hello. Thank you, Gretl. Today we are discussing the music video for Rage Against the Machine's Testify. It comes from the 1990 album, The Battle for Los Angeles. That album also contained the singles Guerrilla Radio, Sleep Now in the Fire, and Calm Like a Bomb. The video we're talking today is directed by Michael Moore, the Michael Moore, Bowling for Colin by Michael Moore, Roger and Me, Fahrenheit 9/11, that Michael Moore. Yes, he cameos in the video at a gas pump.
I know. I have to watch it again because I missed his cameo.
Yeah, it's quick there, but you're like, I see you.
So he was pulling a little Hitchcock moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've noticed because like at the gas pump in this, the band members are all the people at the gas pump, and then Michael Moore's at the gas pump. So that's where they kind of make their cameos in it.
Yes. Okay.
But this video, it's funny. Battle for Los Angeles came out in 99. Guerrilla Radio is a single. I think it came out in October of 99. And then their next single, Sleep Now in the Fire, is November of 99, like what would have been a week after an election week.
Right.
And then they don't have any play, nothing. Testify comes out in June. Like that's a long gap between singles. That comes out in June, probably intentional, of 2000. And then their last single, Calm Like a Bomb, that came out election week. That video dropped, or that single dropped. I can't remember if they made a video for that one or not. But so that one, these two singles feel calculated because June would be the conventions. Would that, or they?
So, yeah.
Would that, when
so.
They have the conventions.
They're in the summer, right? I mean, yeah.
So it's obviously calculated, and the story of the video, it starts with a little kind of 1950s sci-fi vibe thing with these aliens. It's silent film, which like aliens plot to conquer Earth, and it says launch mutant now, and then we get Bush and Gore combined picture, which you could see either one in them. It's weird how they put it together, and they
It is
split
weird.
apart.
And they split apart
And it
into
says
each other.
he appears as two but speaks as one, and we get a lot of two different opponents sharing similar comments and ideology throughout the video. We see them doing similar things. We see them saying exact same phrases.
Yeah, like I'm for the death penalty. I'm for the death penalty.
Well, I'm for clean air. I'm for clean air. We see them out meeting people, out, trying to have fun stuff.
Everybody's shaking hands.
Right. They also show us their donors, campaign donors, some of which are the same or likewise companies, and how much were donated.
Yes. Yes.
It's just interesting. As different as it seemed back in 2000 voting, I feel like they're closer together than what we've almost had now. It feels this way, but living it out, that election was my first election. I was 18. That was the first election I voted in, and but it didn't feel dire at the time.
No, it was a very different feeling. And so you're saying that you feel that they were less polarized. I mean, and I think that is, I mean, I think that you're right, that Michael Moore, in directing, their choices, Rage Against the Machine and Michael Moore, their choices are to show that really it's the same, like both parties are the same.
You're getting nowhere. You're going in circles.
Yeah, it's like, are we picking the lesser of two evils? Are we, and certainly the climate back then, I mean, it wasn't my first election voting, but I do remember, I do remember seeing Gore speak privately after that, where he was very charismatic and funny.
Yeah,
and I kind of thought to myself, like, why didn't you show this when you were on the campaign trail?
Yeah, he became the guy that's like, wait, whoa. Like, a lot of people turn their heads and been like, I would have voted for or pushed stronger for you had we seen this side of you.
Yeah.
And I think they were just too worried. I mean, he was the shadow of Bill Clinton. That's probably what ultimately cost him. Which the Clinton era was overshadowed by a BJ. That's pretty much what a lot of it was, and people it seemed tired, but it was a close election. It was like, this was like the closest election in history. It came down to like a couple hundred votes in Florida. And I don't think people people don't realize, it was close, but so people wanted Gore. It just wasn't enough to slide. But had he shown that personality, it probably would have been enough to take him over.
But I think he was uncomfortable, and he was, I think that he was very much in Clinton's shadow.
Clinton was the fun guy when he was running for campaigns, maybe, and they're like trying to put Gore as the straight kind of boring guy, and Bush was the fun guy at the time.
Well, and I wonder if, because of the whole Monica Lewinsky thing and all of that, that there was pressure on Gore to be more, I'm a straight shooter, I'm very serious, I'm I'm a suit, I'm straight and narrow, all of that, because of what had played out. But I do think, in terms of the politics of the time, it didn't feel as it didn't feel as dire as it does today. It didn't feel like our country was as divided, certainly, and it felt like there at least was some cross-partisanship, and but I think, to your point, that they are, with this music video, they are making a point that it's all the same. It's all done by lobbyists, and big corporations, and and
tons of compromise, all the
exactly. And I mean, it's like, these lyrics are just kind of chilling at times. I mean, the movie ran through me, the glamour subdue me, the tabloid untie me, I'm empty, please fill me. Mr. Anchor, assure me that Baghdad is burning. Your voice, it is so soothing. That cunning mantra of killing. I mean, it just, it's a great song. It's a great political activist song.
I mean, that's what they're good at. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't notice at the time as a kid.
17.
Yeah. As a kid, it was just metal and it was like really cool sounding. Nobody was doing it. And I was like, yeah, there's this political message where there's like, I took it as a damn the man thing when it was much deeper.
It's much deeper than that. I mean, there is damn the man, but yeah.
Their target audience, I don't think was fully grasping everything at the time. Like it was just like, yeah, they're just, angry and stuff like that. And I look back now, I'm like, man, it's more intelligent. Looking back, that I could realize it's more intelligent than a lot of stuff written today. And they were like a very dedicated to the cause band like that. I mean, when they had nothing to say, they weren't around, and they have something to say, they come back.
I mean, that is interesting that there was that period in between their releasing singles and and they do kind of go away and then they come back with something to say. I mean, these lyrics are deep.
Yeah.
Really deep. Yeah. And I mean, it definitely, the mass graves for the pump and the price is set. The price is set.
Yeah. And they even show like Zach De La Rocha, the lead singer, pointing one to his head at the pump.
Exactly.
And they do, they really go after like Middle Eastern warfare and the hunt for oil, showing the damage of it. They like to, one of the things that they showing the Testify, putting your hand up in a kind of a Sieg Heil formation. And and I noticed going back through it this time, there's different, they make it a point to show all the different types of people, adhering to the salute. I mean, you have military people, government officials, the Pope, Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton, and they threw Sonny Bono in there as if to show what a joke it all is or something like that. I noticed like, wait, I was like, that's Sonny Bono being sworn in. I'm like, there's something that means something.
That was definitely, that's not nothing. I think that there's no accident in any of this footage in this music video.
It's all very intentional.
It is very intentional, and that is a really and we were talking about The Great Dictator, and the whole Heil thing, and it is kind of fascinating how that has been used throughout history. This the fist or the hand up, and even showing the Pope doing it.
And it almost looks like a violent act, like is going to happen to somebody, because they like the way they quick cut it, and they like be someone coming up to somebody like this to do a Testify. It's like, like it's kind of crazy.
It's a hit. I mean, I think that also, after this whole verse of mass graves for the pump and the price is set and the price is set, who controls the past now controls the future. Who controls the present now controls the past.
Right, exactly.
Past now controls the future. Who controls the present now? I mean, again, hello. I mean, these words have such meaning for right now, today, in this hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same cycle of, this power and control and who's controlling the narrative.
Right.
And I mean, but of course, now we have this whole issue of, not only do we have the 24-hour news cycle going on, but the internet itself, where this information is just, and we don't even know who controls the present now at times. Like, is that a person tweeting or is it a bot?
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. Yeah. I check their follower count, I'm like, and I report. Like when I read the comments, I'm like, okay. And and people get into fights with them. I'm like, check. They're like, come on.
Yeah.
See what else they're like, it's crazy. Like, and sometimes people who aren't bots look like bots. That's how deranged many have been programmed.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
So it's weird.
That's kind of scary.
There's lots of riot clips in here showing bacon being made
right
as well, and monster trucks, and and we get there's references to gambling, and there's a woman rolling in dollar bills, and it's a lot of just a lot of different America things probably that shows the uglier side. And
Mm-hmm.
mentioning the Middle East and all those graphic footage, and you saying the lyric of the Anchorman, "Tell me something, make me happy," reminds
Yeah.
me of what people realized a year ago summer during the Black Lives Matter movement and the police endangerment, was that they realized how the media and the White House was trying to feed us reports of the information as they do our insurgent on third world countries and stuff, and expecting us to buy
Mhm.
it. Now we're seeing from their perspective how it is, and how and we're like not buying it. Be like, well, if they're lying to us like about how this is going, how are they doing it about that? Like
Right.
how, like, because I don't think people realize not all good things come from our journeys over there, and we only get a report. But now we live in a way where we can get other perspectives if we look for them and see how people view it, rather than us just being always going out to help. Why?
Yeah.
Or like what, like there's other motives and the ways they deal is
Well,
harsh. But
I mean, I think that, yeah, during this time, I mean, I mean, we have gone into these countries saying that we are spreading democracy, and we were going after the oil. I
mm-hmm,
mean, and we were, we turned a blind eye to the genocide of the Kurds.
yeah,
It's like we yeah, we've done a lot of things in the name of democracy that it
mm-hmm,
hasn't really been about democracy.
right,
Mm. And the other thing is too, just in terms of, and it's interesting, when we were talking about the great dictator and fascism and these cycles in humanity, and we definitely are in a cycle where fascism is on the rise
right,
around the world, including in our own United States of America.
mm-hmm,
Um, but you can't, there's a consciousness model called, I think it's called spiral dynamics.
okay,
And it's about how, collective consciousness works, and these different, and the guy who invented it, I haven't read about it for a number of years, but I studied it at one point in a different lifetime.
mm-hmm,
Um, but, you can't, like, if someone is in a tribal consciousness, or
mm-hmm,
you can't go in and just say, here, you know,
right,
here's democracy. I mean, it's like, it just doesn't work that way. You can't force feed those things.
right,
Which I think we're seeing now playing out in our own country. How do we talk to each other when we have huge sections that we have a big split,
right,
70 some odd million and 70 some odd million, right? Speaking different languages.
right. And I think part of it,
Yeah.
yeah, part of it too is we live now like in that instant gratification era. So
Yeah.
they expect uh people to change as quick as a button. And
Yeah.
while I stand for, and I don't understand the side of not accepting or not tolerating things, or not being open, or just respect, like you, those people, that takes sadly time
It
to
does.
do. And it sucks, like people want it right away, but some people gotta slow, or it has to affect them directly before they see or want, as we've seen with like the pandemic. A lot of, oh my gosh, it really is real. Well, no, it was real to begin with, yes.
Right.
Take it seriously, wear a mask, folks. And but like a lot of like times change, like it's slow, because while I think it should happen fast, and I don't understand why people aren't accepting other people, but like you gotta, like one person I think Donald Trump brought out from the dust that I don't understand, because I've never lived in this situation, so I would never understand the mentality. Is I think many of his voters, because the way polls weren't accurate, I think
Right.
he pulled the person that has to go to the library to use the internet, because they live in a place that is not, and that person's not getting pulled.
Right.
um but
Right.
there's a lot of places in America, like we think the internet's just a thing, but it's still a privilege. It's still across the country isn't a guaranteed thing. It's not as widespread. Like there's a lot of people I know still can't use, like not far from where I live, can't use Netflix because it's just the bandwidth's not there. The internet's not strong
Yeah.
enough in those towns.
Yeah.
And but that's, I think, the type of person that I just can't understand putting in the shoes because I've never lived that situation.
Right.
And for that person, their world doesn't get as informed as we can. So it's slower for them. It's not the fast pace, you know, bigger city, metropolitan area, capital lifestyle.
Right.
But damn, be open-minded. That's
But
one thing I've never
yeah,
understood.
and we all, I mean, we all, you know, have our blind spots. We all
Mhm.
have our belief systems, and I think that but it is, I think it gets down to education too,
Mhm.
you know, and we just haven't, like, as a country, we haven't, you know, and I think this song actually, and the video is kind of speaking to that our interests have been really more in alignment with making money, with,
Mhm.
you know, lobbyists and corporations and war and, you know, all of these things. And yet we have these mass graves, and we have, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like that, you know, Baghdad's burning, but it's, you know, they also say, I think, you know, it's, yeah, we found your weakness and it's right outside your door. Now testify,
Yeah.
you know, it's right outside your door. And I think that, I mean, this is an interesting thing that I just kind of, you know, back when this song came out and the video came out, we were really, I mean, all that was going down in the Middle East. I mean, we were a
Yeah.
part, we were over there, but really outside our door, it was soon to be outside our door because it came outside our door on
Yeah.
September 11th,
Yes.
a year later, right?
Mhm.
A year and a little bit of change later. Um, but it's always kind of been out, you know, it's always been outside our door. But now I think now here in 2021, it's really outside our door. And
Right.
all of these, you know, all of the karma that we've been kind of growing as a country, I mean, all of it is, you know, these issues have been there, you know, the pipeline is gushing while here we lie in tombs, you
Mhm.
know, it's like, I mean, it's, the language is great. I mean, as a poet, I love, you know, there's a raw, gritty, muscular poetry to the lyrics that I really love in the
Mhm.
song. And then the repetition of now testify, it's right outside the door. But I think that's now, like, compared to back then, a decade later, right? It's a decade later. Those seeds were planted. I mean, those seeds had been planted back then and
Yeah.
even before then. And all of this is playing out now. We're seeing,
Yeah.
you know, things that we are used to seeing in third world countries, right?
Yeah.
Things we're used to seeing over there that we were a part of.
Right.
Now it's here.
No, it's totally here. It's definitely here. I mean, you could look at, there's easily comparative imagery you can take 2 seconds and find and be like, "Oh." And that's
Well,
what
and even,
is.
I mean, even the mass graves. I mean, one of the things, Brandon, that really breaks my heart, and that, you know, even myself at times, I'm
Mhm.
like, you know, this whole thing about mass graves. I mean, it's like, you know, they talk about how with COVID, you know, it's like September 11th happening every
Every
day,
day. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Now, I lived through September 11th here in downtown Manhattan. I
Yeah.
knew people who were in the towers who didn't make it. Um, you know, fortunately, I didn't have anyone in my inner circle, but like as a New Yorker,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, it was. I never want to live through anything like that again.
No.
And it was really a very challenging time, um, and what was my point here? But after September 11th, we really had, like, you heard stories about the people who had been lost. You
Right.
know, there was mourning that happened, definitely here in New York City. Um, and I think across the nation, you know,
Yeah.
maybe more so in New York because it was like here, although it was an attack against our country, of course. And, so I think the whole nation did mourn and felt badly, but I don't feel that at times I'm just like, I hear these numbers, like we're at 370 some odd thousand deaths now. And I don't feel like we're hearing stories of who these people are. I don't feel like we're mourning, like no one's addressing that. Maybe here and there in towns, but I really, it's just kind of all being washed over. And then we still have people saying it's all a hoax and it's all made up.
Yeah. While health of people that are health care workers, frontline, are like, this is ridiculous. It's a hoax. It's like, and they're getting people who are getting tested with it. They're like, it's a hoax.
I know.
I don't have that.
Intubated saying it's a hoax. Like, no, I don't have COVID. It's something else.
Yeah.
So, and that's hard for me to wrap my head around. I mean, obviously, some of these conspiracy theories, as we're talking about disaster capitalism, predatory capitalism, which is kind of the world of Storm Chaser, obviously, anytime that there is a disaster or people fall on hard times, sadly, there are forces that will try to take advantage of that. So I do believe that. I do believe that there are nefarious intentions at times taking advantage of vulnerabilities in the system, or when they're that's, that old expression of he'd steal pennies off a dead man's eyes, or whatever that expression is. There's always been people and energies that will do that. But in terms of there are real people and there are mass graves. There are paupers' graves now. There are people who are being buried, and yet I don't know. I feel like as a country, we're not really, I brought this up to a friend of mine the other day, and she said, well, I don't think that we're going to mourn it collectively until after it's over.
Right.
Maybe that's the case. I don't know. I wonder, though, will we then, or will we just be wrapped up in the next news cycle and the next?
Right. It feels
because
the only stories we get are, I didn't get to say bye to them. I had to do it on the phone, or he didn't believe in it and now he's dead from it. Like, those are the ones they're giving us about people.
Yeah. And it is, the fact that people aren't being able to be with their loved ones as they die, I think is a tragedy. I lost my father in 2014, and I was fortunate to spend like the last 5 days. I dropped everything and went home, and I was with him and my mother, and it was one of the most profound experiences of my life, actually, to be able to be present and to help him with that transition. As painful as it was, there was a lot of wonderful and loving and funny, because my dad kept his sense of humor until the very end. So that is something that I think, but I think our culture has a hard time of dealing with death, like, oh, they're sick, oh, they're dying, I don't want to look at that. And that's something I think we have to change. And I think that's something with the COVID thing too. It's just kind of like, oh, well, as long as I don't get sick or someone else doesn't get sick. So yeah, it's, rage against the machine, rage against the machine, and the machine men, as in The Great Dictator, when he talks about, don't be a machine man with a machine mind, or he says,
well, it's towards the end of the video, the two merge back together, as if election's over. That's what you got. Mission accomplished. Be back in 4 years. And they have Ralph Nader.
Yes.
Who says, if you're not turned on to politics, politics will turn on you, who was the third choice that doesn't get as amplified as the others.
Yep.
And then there's a card at the end that says, in November, it is estimated that the majority of Americans, nearly 100 million people, will not vote, simply for the lack of a real choice on the ballot.
Yep.
which is what your libertarian friends will always tell you over and over and over and over and over again. But but it's true. And I don't know if our country will ever, the way we now have politics by one side looking at it like a sports thing where it's like, we won, it's all that matters. How do you show, that you can make other choices? And it's gonna be interesting.
I mean, I think that, and I love that Nader quote. I mean, that's
it's true.
It's such a true quote. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
certainly politics has turned on us. But I think that this has been a long time coming, kind of the marginalization, I do believe that there have been, I don't know, do I want to use the word energies, forces, people who have a vested interest in keeping us kind of dumb and somewhat happy.
And keeping some people not voting. Like that's.
And a big vested interest
Mm-hmm.
in keeping some people not voting, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder moving forward, like is our system really working? Is this two-party, is this, I don't think it's really working. And I think it hasn't been working for a while.
I think that the party system, capitalism, we're at the end of it.
We are in post-capitalistic times, for sure. Post-truth times, post-capitalistic times. We are it's no longer capitalism. It's something that capitalism was never supposed to be.
No, like on paper, capitalism. Oh, great. Yep. Yeah. It's like, I'm sure on paper, communism looks great until some guy's like, I don't want to be the janitor. Too bad. You're born. We chose.
Yep.
What you are. I don't want to be that. Then it fails. But if everybody plays ball, it's good. But like in capitalism, ideally it didn't go that way. Oh,
yep.
Crud. So you don't have to tear it all apart. Change it, fix it, find gears, take other practices, insert.
Well, exactly. Why can't we do like a blend of capitalism with, and we do have we have social programs, but we haven't, and that's what we're seeing. We haven't invested in infrastructures, in our healthcare system, in our educational, we haven't made those investments. So now that's being strained to the point where it's, we have things collapsing. And why is it in the wealthiest country that most people can't, afford to pay their rent and have health care insurance and like put kids in, like things that you would think you should be able to figure out when there's so much wealth. But, I saw this article not that long ago where it broke down like, Bezos and, the top 10 billionaires and how they have actually, their wealth has grown over 50% or some huge percentage in the pandemic alone.
Yeah, because people are buying stuff from there that they would have gone out to get now. Like that's.
Right. And so that wealth gap, it just keeps, and the middle class is being decimated further and further, and that's been going on for a long time. So I've always kind of been for a blend of, the diehard capitalists will say, like, if you don't have capitalism, then no one will work. No
motivation, no.
There'll be no motivation. But I think as an artist, like, I don't know. I just think like, because really, I think to create new things, right? To really create, you need time. You need, you need freedom to explore things. And if you're like having to work 18-hour days to pay the rent, you're not going to think of anything new.
Right.
Generally. And that it's that churn and burn mentality, and like that your value is really only your success and your value is only measured in what you make,
right,
or the size house you live in, or
drive. Most I don't, a lot of doctors doctors make money and stuff, surgeons, but they wouldn't get that far if they didn't want to help people, if they didn't want to do it. And if you didn't want to be one that stands above, like take the money out, people still want to be the best at something. They still want to leave a footprint in someone's life. They still want to, there's still that desire that no amount of money could weigh upon. I mean, how good does a surgeon feel when they save someone's life, when they fix something wrong? Like that's what they're in it for. And to find new medicine, to do like that would still be there. And people still like say like someone is missing a leg, they still would want to go, a lot of them go in the field to figure out like how to improve the robotic legs, whatever. I can't remember. Yeah, stuff. So I mean, to say it's not there because of money, who's saying that, when they say that, like that's
right.
One of them's leaving office soon. But,
well, yeah, I mean, and it's
or has left when this post.
Well, maybe, when this is.
I hope.
Left, hopefully.
I hope.
We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, visiting Europe, and of course Europe isn't perfect. I mean, it's like every system has its problems. I mean, socialism has its problems. But I guess I've just never understood like how people get so crazy about like, oh, we're going to become socialists. And it's like, and sometimes the people who are afraid of that are not doing all that well and could benefit from, like programs that would be, via socialism, like putting more money so that more people have. I don't feel like education should be a privilege. It should be something that we pride ourselves on educating children and continuing that education. And it's like, I don't think that having a roof over your head and like being able to eat is a privilege.
Right. No.
I think it was actually, wasn't it Bush? Was it George W. Bush who said that education was a privilege around the time of this whole,
might have been
this video? I think it was during that time. I could be wrong because it has been a decade ago, but I think that was in the kind of Bush, the Bush years when the whole question of education and college, and, all of this, because I mean, a lot of people couldn't afford to go to college. And there was this kind of, education is a privilege.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be.
No, it shouldn't be. So that was a lot. It's just, I think we have the record for the longest music video episode. We have the record for the longest music video episode. It's pretty good.
Well, we talked a lot about things that weren't really with the
it's a week. It's been a week.
Yeah, we were testifying.
We're fueled.
We were
testifying. So Gretl Claggett, I sincerely appreciate you coming back to do a one for the price of two for me here. I'm seriously, eternally grateful, and hopefully next time we get together, we'll talk about something other than Testify and The Great Dictator, because that's all we talk about now.
We will. Maybe we won't be. Maybe we'll kind of switch into a rom-com gear. We won't be on politics.
We could do that.
Or we'll just talk psychological thrillers and horrors or something.
There we go.
It's been fabulous, and I will be thinking of you on your birthday, and I will raise a glass to you.
All right.
And we'll have to private message each other on Instagram or something as it's playing out.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully it's good stuff.
Yeah.
But once again, where can people find you, speaking of Instagram, on the interwebs?
Oh, okay. On Instagram, Gretl Marlene, GRETL MARLENE. Facebook, Gretl Claggett. Twitter, Gretl Claggett. And then you can always go to my website, gretlclaggett.com. And there is a place to contact me if you want to do so. I will get the email, and will do my best to respond.
Excellent. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. Written work at whysoblue.com. The Brandon Peters Show returns all new next week with freelance writer and host of the Adult Spelling Bee, Danielle Sepulvez, as we discuss 1988's Working Girl. Until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film chatter.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.